All right, this time we're on to the last part, which is on the quadratic formula. Kind of what to do when none of the other factoring methods work. Quadratic formula is the same process over and over again, except sometimes the simplifying can be difficult, sometimes it's easy, and sometimes it's somewhere in between. So you really sort of never know what you're going to get, but you do know that using the formula works the same way every time. So you should have the formula written right there on your review paper, and then you should be able to recognize that this is A, B, and C. So for the first one, I'm going to do negative B, which is negative, and then B is 6. And then in the square root, I have B squared, which is 6 squared, minus 4 times A, which is negative 2, and C, which is also negative 2. All of this is over 2 times A, which is again negative 2. So I'm just substituting numbers into that formula. And in this step, I'm going to simplify everything under the square root down to one number. I'm going to simplify this bottom too. So I got 36 minus, and then I have negative 8 times negative 2 again, that's positive 16. So it's 36 minus, and then all of this over here comes out to positive 16. So 36 minus positive 16 gives me 20. All over negative 4. Okay, now I'm looking at this and saying, before I divide anything or anything like that, I want to see if I can simplify that square root. And it looks like I can. So off on the side, I'm going to do the square root of 20. I'm going to split it up. The biggest one that goes into that is only a 4 and a 5 left over. So we have 2 square root of 5. So basically I have negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 5. All over negative 4. And now that the square root is simplified, now I can start to think about dividing. So if you see 6 divided by 4 doesn't really work, and 2 divided by 4 doesn't really work either. But they can be reduced. So I think just to say that the two negatives here will cancel is probably a little bit too much. So why don't we just look at it and say, look, they all can be divided by 2, so let's do that. That is your final answer. All right, if we look at this one, maybe it'll work out a little easier, you know. This time we know A is an understood 1 here, B is 2, and C is 4. So if we do the quadratic, it's going to be negative B, so negative 2, plus or minus square root. B squared, which is 2, minus 4 times 1 times 4. All over 2 times 1. Again, let's clean up what's underneath the square root. We got 4 minus 16, that's negative 12, all over 2. All right, this time we have a negative under the square root, which makes it maybe even a little worse. But again, let's focus on simplifying that square root on the side. So I'm going to do the square root of negative 12. I know there's going to be an I. And 12 breaks up into 4 and 3. So 2 square roots of 3 with an I. Then we go to here and we're at negative 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 with an I all over 2. So now I can think about dividing. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. This 2 divided by 2 is 1. So really we have 1 times the square root of 3 or just the square root of 3. That's an I. That's the answer for that. So that one happened to work out to be a complex number because it's a real part here and an imaginary part here. So using the formula is one thing. Another thing I'd like you to do is to be able to look at a problem and tell what kind of solutions you should expect to get based on what they call a discriminant. And a discriminant is this thing, which again you should have written right on your quiz or your review. B squared minus 4AC. So B is 8 times 4 times 4 times 4. So 8 squared is 64. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 again is also 64. So we get 64 minus 64, that's equal to 0. If you look at the chart, anything that's equal to 0 here will have one real solution. So you need to show the work on how you proved it, and then you need to say what kind of solutions you're going to have. So here again, let's do b squared minus 4 times a times c. So I got 36 minus, and then 4 times 1 is 4, and negative 3 makes that negative 12. So 36 minus negative 12. These two minuses indicate a plus, so really it's 36 plus 12, which is 48. And if you look at your chart, 48 is greater than 0, that means you're going to have two real solutions. All right, that's it for your quadratic review. If you have any questions, you can come see me in the morning or anytime prior to your test. And also, make sure that you bring the formula for the quadratic equation, and make sure that you bring that stuff about the discriminant with something equal to 0 or greater than 0 or less than 0. Bring that stuff and bring it on a separate sheet of paper with no other examples or anything. You'll be allowed to use that on the test. Okay, good luck.